Hi there, my name is Donna Moore, and I'm here at beautiful Winter Park, Florida at a Chateau Kitchen. A Chateau Kitchen is a licensed commissary where about 20 small businesses make their food products to either wholesale, retail, or sell at area farmers markets. We have about 20 businesses that manufacture everything from ice cream to cakes to cookies to chocolates, shortbreads, goodness, we make it all, fabulous sauces. And we want to thank Signature Chefs of Orlando for featuring some of our wonderful chefs on their program. Thank you so much. Hi there, I'm Donna Moore, and my company is Chateau Confections, and we're here at a Chateau Kitchen in Winter Park, Florida. And I'm honored to be a guest of Signature Chefs of Orlando, and they asked me to talk a little bit about my chocolates and prepare some for you today. So we're going to make some homemade truffles in a minute, but before we do that, I thought you might be interested. If you had never seen a cocoa pod, this is what one looks like. Most of the cocoa beans in the world at this time are grown in northern Africa. There are some in Central America, South America, and Mexico. In a cocoa pod, what happens, the beans are inside, but they have to be fermented. So the process, we're used to seeing a chocolate bar or prepared chocolate. What happens is the beans, after the beans are fermented, then they're dried and cleaned and roasted, and then the shells are removed. And then once the shells are removed, they're ground into cocoa mass, and that cocoa mass is referred to as chocolate liquor. So if you see on an ingredient it says chocolate liquor, it doesn't mean the spiked kind that you would drink at happy hour. It's just the nomenclature that's used within the chocolate industry to indicate that is the dense, true, pure cocoa. And then those are called nibs. And so the percent chocolate that you see is the percent nibs, or pure mass chocolate, that's in any given chocolate. And the higher the cacao content, the more nibs in other words, the better quality of chocolate it is. There is some research that indicates that chocolate has some ingredients in it that can have positive effects on the heart. And so it makes us love chocolate even more. But I thought you might enjoy seeing what a cocoa pod looked like, since they're only grown typically about 20 degrees north or south of the equator is where the trees flourish the best. Since I am a self-taught, I am not a trained chocolatier, I thought it would be nice to just show some simple things like I began before I started my own business. And this is something you can do at home if you want to practice or give a real yummy gift to a friend or family member. So what we're going to do, we have 1/8 ounce package of cream cheese in the blender, and we work that until it's smooth. Then we have some confectioner's sugar, about 3 cups, and we are going to gradually add that till it blends. A little bit of vanilla, 1.5 teaspoons. Crank it up a little bit so they'll get nice and smooth. And then the best part, 3 cups, and in this particular dessert, I use the 72% chocolate by Guittard. Guittard is a French-style chocolate. It's made in the Bay Area of California. The company is owned by a third-generation French family. And I happen to think, once I started researching sources for chocolate, that they have one of the best products on the market. And that is all I use. I use their dark chocolates, and I use their cocoa powder, and it makes such a difference. I think that's what gives my product a little forgiveness. I am self-trained, but I knew enough to know that I needed a high-end chocolate to make it competitive in the market with people that really know what they're doing. So what we're going to do, we're blending this down, and then we're simply going to roll this mixture into balls. And you can coat it with anything you want. You can also add different flavorings. If you wanted to have an amaretto truffle, you could add a little bit of amaretto into the mixture. Cointreau, if you wanted a little orange flavor, or you can use just a non-alcoholic flavoring. So I think it looks pretty well done. Now here you're going to get a little messy. You can use gloves, but it's going to make it a little more difficult. When you work with chocolate, you're going to find that it's very sensitive to temperature. And so your hands are warm and your body temperature is 98.6. So in working with this and rolling these balls, if you find that it's too difficult, thank you, Kathy. My friend Kathy, that owns Kathy's Cajun Cuisines and also makes her fabulous products here at a Chateau Kitchen, is helping me today. But if you find, like when you're rolling out these balls, and again, another thing I like, they can be any size that you want. If it's too warm, like if you're baking at the same time you're making this, it's not a problem. Just pop this in the fridge, let it firm up a little bit. And again, these are homemade. You don't have to worry. If I was going to package these to sell, I would try to get them a uniform size, but you can see I've got Mama, Papa, and Baby Bear already. But that's okay, because when you put truffles on a plate and you serve them, people, it's like anything, they'll go, some people want the small piece, some people want the big piece. But all we're gonna do is we're gonna just simply roll these out, and then we are gonna dip them. And what I've laid out to dip, I thought it might be interesting. I have some, this is a lighter cocoa powder. It's actually a 45%. What you'll buy just in a grocery store probably only has about 20% cocoa. And again, this is one of Guitard's. I also have some cocoa from them that's almost black in color. It's divine. Since I used the 72, oh, thank you, Kathy. Since I used the 72%, I didn't feel we needed to coat it in that. But all you're gonna do, you're gonna take the truffle and then you're just gonna roll it around in the cocoa. And here you have, then it'll sit in the refrigerator. I toasted some sweetened coconut shreds. Coconut is very popular, and I love the toast. I love the crunch. I think it brings out the flavor of the coconut. So we have that. Now this is fun. One of my top sellers in my bark style candies is my smokin', which is made with chipotle chili pepper. So this is chipotle chili pepper, and we're gonna rub a truffle in that. Now you wanna keep that separate because you wanna be able to tell people they're not expecting any heat. They're just expecting some sweet dark chocolate truffles. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna wipe my hands. Well, actually, you know what? We're gonna make a few of these at one time, and then I'll wash my hands, and we'll work with the other. Because again, you don't want to mix flavors there. But this is one of my top 2 or 3 sellers to have that fun smoky. It's great with a glass of beer, great with a glass of wine. It's been used in a number of wine tastings around town, and you'd be surprised how good it is. You could also use a cayenne, but I personally think cayenne is pretty hot with not a lot of flavor to it. And excuse me while I wash my hands, so we go back to the cocoa and the coconut. Okay, we're gonna keep rolling them. One of the things about this truffle recipe, and it was one of the first things I did at home, was the fact that it was so simple and yet so good. To me, it kind of dilutes the fabulous intensity of the chocolate itself and the goodness if you have a big filling in it. If you're in a pinch for time, this whole process is maybe gonna take 10 minutes. So if you want a real good dessert, something special, you are good to go. In the United States, most of the major chocolate manufacturers, like Nestle, Lindt Chocolate, Hershey's, they're predominantly a milk chocolate. And those companies, they make fabulous products, and we all grew up on them. They lobbied the Food and Drug Administration, I believe it was in 2007, to get permission for chocolate to be considered sweet chocolate, which is at least a minimum of 50% cacao or mass chocolate, then some cocoa butter and stabilizer. They wanted to be able to add other oils to it other than cocoa butter, and for it to still be qualified as a sweet chocolate, which is a standard that was established in Europe. And the FDA did not allow that. And that's really nice because it keeps standards. Chocolate was first introduced into Europe when Cortez went into South America and Mexico and met the Aztecs, who used a bitter chocolate drink in part of their religious ceremonies, and it was a part of royalty and an offering to the gods. So it's long held in very high esteem, not just by chocoholics. And in the US, our specification for chocolate to have what's considered a sweet chocolate or a gourmet chocolate is 15%. And in Europe it's 35. So that's why a lot of people, when they travel abroad, they'll come back and go, oh my goodness, the Belgian chocolate, oh my goodness, the Swiss chocolate, because they have, they're held to a higher content of cocoa. So one reason I selected Guittard, they make their chocolate in the French style, and it does have that higher amount of cacao mass in it. And to me, it makes it a superior chocolate. It's also wonderful to work with. All right, I'm gonna keep rolling these little truffles, and then when we come back, we'll finish this episode of Signature Chefs Orlando by tasting some of these goodies, these dark chocolate truffles. All right, our truffles have set, and we have 4 different flavors of topping on them. We have chipotle chili pepper, which will give a nice kick, because when you work with that particular pepper, when you bite in on the front of the tongue, you're gonna get chocolate, and then as you swallow, you're gonna get the pepper, and it's just a nice subtle kick. It's wonderful. Then we rolled some of them in just confectioner's sugar, and that's for the person that just wants that deep chocolate taste. We have some toasted sweetened coconut, which gives a real nice crunch. And then we have cocoa powder. So then you just have a double chocolate truffle. And what we're gonna do, we're just gonna start, we're gonna make a little assortment. We'll have a cocoa, a coconut, a white, a cocoa, and then we'll go back again. White, coconut, and chocolate. And again, in an assortment, you can just do it in any way that you want. But what I want to do with this particular box, we're not going to put the pepper in, because when you get into something like that, which can really change the flavor, you don't want it rubbing off on the others. So you have to be careful when you're mixing different, you're offering an assortment. You need to keep it so that the flavors don't compete. So then we'll just go back to give a little interest. We're going to start with a white one, and we'll do a little cocoa. And then we'll do a coconut. And then we'll go, I think we'll do 2 coconut. And then we'll do a cocoa. And then we'll do a white. And so here, this comes out to about a half a pound of chocolate. And again, this is solid chocolate. If you remember when we made it, we just had that 72% chocolate in there, added a little confectioner sugar, a tablespoon and a half of vanilla, and we were good to go. And then you have to be careful so you don't get it messy. And then we're just going to put a little tie on there, and voila, there's a nice little package of fabulous chocolate. Enjoy.